In this lesson, we'll be talking about cleaning up documents. This is part one, talking about cleaning up a table of contents. There's a lot to know about table of contents because they are so connected with styles. We usually end up getting into a lengthy discussion about styles and changing the styles and reassigning the styles to the text properly. I'm going to try to keep this short and just kind of give an overview of what's happening with table of contents and some ideas for cleaning those up. And then in some of the other parts on cleaning up documents, we can go into some more details on those. So let's start with a document. It's an actual document that I received, and it was a quality manual. I've taken everything out of it that might be confidential. But before we do, I always like to turn on the Show Formatting button. It's on our Home tab in our ribbon. And over here in the paragraph group, it's called Show Hide, and it shows paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols. So I'm going to turn that on, and now we see a lot going on here. We see little dots for spaces, we see paragraph markers, and we see things like section breaks and page breaks. This is always a very useful thing when you're creating a document, and especially when you're trying to clean up a document. So we have a title page, don't we? It's just the title here, a section break. This is a special kind of section break that breaks it to the next page. And that's nice because it breaks and starts me here. So this starts the new section. And then this section break to the next page would end this section. So here's where we can create a table of contents because it's between two section breaks. And that's better than two page breaks, because between two section breaks, it's its own section that gives us a lot more options on formatting our table of contents without affecting the regular document, the rest of the document. If you make a change to a page between page breaks, it will change the rest of your document as well. If you change it from landscape to portrait, or you change the overall margins, it's going to change your whole document. So this is handy. So right here, we're just going to go ahead and put in a table of contents. So to do that, we go up to References, Table of Contents on the far left, and we have two built-in ones. They're pretty much the same thing. One gives you the word contents at the top. The other gives you the word table of contents at the top. And both of them want to use heading 1, 2, and 3 for the references back to your document. So heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. Now this means, of course, that somewhere in the document you labeled or you assigned the style heading 1 or heading 2 or heading 3 in your document. And we see over to the right here, we have all of the styles associated with this document. And I can just tell you offhand, these styles are a bit messed up. Normally, we don't see styles named 1.1. We don't see styles typically named level 2. So there's some kind of strange things happening here. So let's go ahead and put in our automatic table of contents. And it put it in. And it dropped me to the very end of the table of contents, to page 47, it looks like. So this is quite a lengthy document. We're going to scroll now to the very top. I could also do Control Home to take me to the top, but I just want to scroll through so we have just a sense of this table of contents. We see some strange things here. So here on page 3, we start seeing some things. We see 1.0, that makes sense, and 1.1, and that makes sense too, doesn't it? But typically 1.1 should be indented a bit, shouldn't it, in a table of contents. Now we have a paragraph, which is odd. This is just a sentence. It doesn't even have a period at the end of it, and it's showing up in our table of contents. We have a chart showing up in our table of contents. We have a note that was probably put under a chart or something that's showing up. 1.2, that makes sense. Here we just have some more strangeness. Because I've now clicked on the table of contents, it's now highlighted, it's now selected, but that's okay. We're going to keep scrolling down here. And now here again on page 4, I have a bunch of these sentences, and here on page 4, I have a bunch more of these sentences, which are all showing up in my table of contents. They don't appear to be any kind of heading, they're just a sentence. So this is a real problem. Here I've got, it looks like an address that's showing up here. So we have a lot of problems. Oh, look here, here's table 1. It has some odd formatting to it as well, and it's also showing up as if we wanted it in our table of contents. Now, we do have something called the table of tables and a table of figures, where we can actually see the different tables and figures, but typically it's not in a table of contents. Well, okay, so we have some problems here, don't we? What's kind of nice about a table of contents is that if you create one automatically like we did, they're also hyperlinked. You can see if I put my mouse right over here, the sentence, it says control click to follow link. So I can actually go to that text and maybe see, why is this being included in my table of contents? So I'm going to hold down control and hit click, and it takes me here to this sentence right here, isn't it? Put my cursor right at the beginning of it. So the next thing I want to do is find out, what style is this? It's being represented as if it was a level 1 and showing up in my table of contents. I'd expect to see 1.0 in my table of contents or 1.1, but not this sentence. So if I select this sentence, I just click anywhere in it, I can come over here to my styles, and I can actually see that this one right here has a blue box around it. It's telling me that this is actually called one doc body. Interesting. It's a style I'm not familiar with. Somebody has created it from scratch, and they've assigned it to there. Now, how do I see this style box here? I'm going to close it, this little X on the top. All you have to do is use your dialog box opener. Here's on the Home tab. This is my style gallery. It's called a gallery. And on the far right is what's called a dialog box opener. And you see these dialog box openers for lots of things. But if you open up the style guide, open up the styles, you'll see all of your styles here. And if you click on one of them, it'll actually tell you what style it is. Well, we can now look at the properties of that style to get kind of a sense of it. So I can tell right now, I'm just hovering over it, and I'm reading the little screen tip that's showing below it. It says its name is doc body, its paragraph formatting, and its outline level is level 1. So its outline level is level 1, meaning if this was in an outline format, this would be level 1. Also, a little farther down in the middle, it says level is 1. So this should just be paragraph text and not level 1. And that's why it's showing up. So let's take a look at some of this other stuff that's showing up that maybe we don't want in here. How about this here where it says term or definition? Let me just control click one of these. And look at this. Here it is, a table, and I don't think we want this in our table of contents. Maybe we want Appendix B, definitions, to be in our table of contents, but I don't think we want the title of one of our columns to be showing up there. So let's click on that and see what it is. Oh, this is doc body as well. Well, I wonder how many doc bodies there are in here that are all level 1. Well, I can use this little drop down right next to it, and it actually says here, select all 426 instances. So there's 426 times that doc body has been applied, and doc body is level 1. If I was convinced that all 426 instances of doc body should actually just be regular, generic, normal text, I could actually go here and say clear formatting on all 426 instances. And they would all just be cleared to whatever normal was set to for this document. And that could solve a lot of problems right there. Okay, let's see if we can find some others, shall we? I'm just curious about what this one is, too. So that one's called doc body. This is normal, so this isn't showing up in our table of contents, thank heavens. It's normal, this is normal. This is called doc body. The appendix is up here. The appendix A is called doc body. So we have some real problems. I'm going to go all the way to the top of our document by using Control Home. Now we're at the top again. We can come down here to our table of contents. So ideally, a table of contents usually only has 3, and even better, only 2 headings, heading 1 and heading 2. So in other words, this is heading 1, 1.0, and this should be heading 2, 1.1. And pretty much nothing else is in our table of contents. So what if we did have heading 1 and heading 2 assigned properly? We just had all this other junk we just wanted to get rid of. And now the hard way to do, I guess, would be to go through the whole document and reassign all of this to be the right kind of text. Like everything here should be normal, and all of this doc body stuff, like right here, this is doc body. We would select all of that, and because it's a paragraph, I could just click just one place in it, and I could just say normal, and just go down here and change it to normal by just clicking on normal. But even normal isn't what we really expect it to be, is it? So we have a lot of problems here. So that could take us a while. I'm going to do Control Z to undo. Well, one quick way might be to just eliminate the stuff we don't want in the table of contents. So here's our table of contents. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go up to References, Table of Contents. I use the drop-down again. This time I'm going to go to Custom Table of Contents. Now, it will create a new customized, but it's based on the current one we have. So it's kind of like editing our table of contents as well. So I'm going to click on this. Now it's showing me a print preview, and sure enough, Doc 1 and Doc Body are showing up in my table of contents. And do you see how they have the 1 after them? That means they're level 1, level 1. This is called heading 1, and it is level 1. There's something called just 2, style 2, and it's a level 3. And here we have something called heading 2, and it's a level 3. So we just see we have a complete mess. So one way to clean up your table of contents quickly, if it's possible, and we'll see if it is, you can just go to Options. So after I went to my table of contents, I go to Options, and here it shows me all of the styles being used and what table of contents level they're at. So I could say, yes, these are messed up, but I do want to keep them in there. But I can scroll down and say, see this doc and doc body that are level 1? I don't even want those in there. So I get rid of those. So I have no doc or no doc body. Heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, that kind of makes sense, but I don't want any heading 3s, so I'll take that out, and we'll see if heading 1 and heading 2 is even being used in this document. Keep going down here. We have something called a level 2, and it's set for 2, and yeah, maybe I did assign some that. Maybe I want those in there. You know, ideally I don't. Ideally I just want level heading 1 and heading 2, but I don't want to have to reassign them all. And here's something called the 2 and a 3. So we're going to say OK and OK, and then it says replace and say yes. And let's see if this cleans it up a little bit. Yeah, so this is considerably better. Let me scroll up here. So it appears starting at 3.1.1, we started using some of the levels that we've kept. But you see how this has cleaned up things considerably because we just got rid of them. But it didn't fix the problem for us. We still skip around, like like for instance, we skip from 3.1.5, and the next time we pick up numbering, we're at 6.6.3. So this is just too messed up for us to have an easy fix to it. But you could see what's happening in the background with our table of contents, that you can actually see which styles it's using and what level that style is. And so sometimes you can just eliminate some weird style that you don't even want in your table of contents. But in this case, this is much more mixed up than that. So we're going to have another lesson that's about reassigning the styles properly so that you can clean up your table of contents.